What's up, guys? Welcome to this week's video, Termite Off-Road. Um, so when we went to Arkansas and Termite, and I already knew if you saw the prep video before we left, I was trying to find a transmission leak, and I kind of snugged the pan bolts up, thinking that was what it was because they were a little bit loose, but obviously that didn't fix it. So on the way up there and on the way back, we had not horrible, but we did have some transmission fluid coming back on it. I'm kind of just gonna have to get it in the air. I just kind of climbed under there the other day, and it was hard to tell. So what I've already done the other day is I just kind of got some simple green, some degreaser, and just kind of sprayed everything under there and hosed it off to kind of clean it up. And then Andrew went and run some errands in Termite. So went did that, pulled it straight in there, and it's been sitting in here for a day or so since that. So hopefully I can better trace where this is coming from. I have a couple of options of possibilities, and there's really only a few places it can be coming from. So we're gonna get this thing up in the air and see if we can find out where our transmission leak is coming from. Okay, so you can see I cleaned it up. Andrew went rode around. I don't know how much you can tell on video, but it's wet right here on the backside. Come under here. I don't know if you can. It's hard to see what you can tell. It's hard to tell what you can see and make out on the video, but it's somewhere between here and here. So here's what I'm looking at. It's either the seal in here between the transmission and the transfer case, because it's real wet right here on this joint line. It's wet right there on that joint a lot. There's probably more fluid back here than in the front. Or it's either, I guess it could be coming out of the pan and going backwards. Could be. But if you remember back when we put the transfer case to the transmission, I had to go back and watch the videos. I want to say I put a new seal in the front of the transfer case, but I did not replace the seal in the back of the transmission. There was also the issue of, here's the old transfer case. There was the issue here of this being an eighth of an inch. If I remember right, it was like an eighth of an inch or something like that, longer than the transfer case that's in there. But I did test it, and it did seal all the way into the seal on the back of the transmission. I put some grease on the shaft, mated them together, and it fully engaged the seal on the back of the transmission. But the seal still felt good. It felt soft, and so I was like, it's fine. I know. Should have just replaced it while I was in there. Didn't do it. Man, that's like the worst case scenario, is that it's that seal. We're not leaking back here. We're bone dry all back in here. It's just right in here, man. Right, there's just puddles on the bottom of these bolts, and it's wet right here along that seam. It's wet, but that could be, it's open right here, to the front. It could easily be blowing through. Only thing I know to do at the moment, though, is just wipe it down and let it sit overnight, maybe, and just see if we get traces of it coming back through anywhere. This is the joy of finding leaks. Finding leaks is sometimes like finding electrical problems. Like it's just can be one of the most annoying things ever. The front of the motor is all nice and dry, and I don't have a light on there you can see, but everything else is fine. So I'm gonna get a paper towel and just start wiping and trying to some brake clean and just clean, dry everything as much as I can, and we'll go from there. Well, guys, I went down the road and kind of played around with it in like 4 low, 4 high, just kind of messing around with it, running it some, and didn't get real fast, just let it kind of idle down the road just to run it and circulate to see if we could get some fluid. Came back and you can see that red right there. I don't think that's residual because I left it overnight drying. Checked it this morning, and it was still dry, so it hadn't been leaking out. So my worst fears, I guess you'd say, are, what do they say, realized. I believe it's going to be that seal between the transmission transfer case. And why it's leaking, I don't know. Like I said, I put a new seal in the front of the transfer case, but I did not replace the seal coming out of the transmission. I did check the length of the shaft going into the transmission, and it did ride all the way in on the seal, had good connection with the seal there. So I hope that's not the problem, that we don't have to pull that input shaft out for a longer one. I hope that's not the case, but nonetheless, that's what it's looking like, is that it's going to be between the transmission transfer case, which sucks. But anyway, I'm going to dry that off and double check before we just go tearing into everything. Make sure that's where it looks like it's coming from. But, you know, that's pretty much what you're looking for, is it's real wet, or not real wet, but you can see a little line of red right there coming down. And, you know, it would make sense because everything back here was the wettest. If you come under here, all this under here was not too bad. Nothing under here was real bad. It was all back here on this side. And, I mean, we're dry right here. We're dry everywhere else back in this back part, except for it was just coming out right there. So, anyway, I'm going to confirm it, kind of keep an eye on it. I may set termite back down, and I don't know. I really don't know if it's even worth doing all that. I think we kind of know what the answer is. But looks like we're going to be pulling that transfer case and seeing what's going on. One of the seals or something. I hope it's just a seal replacement. So we'll see. Okay, guys. Well, it's about 3 weeks later from the last clip. We just, life, you know, kids doing sports and just, my goodness, man, everything else. Like, I wanted to wait till I had a few days where I could just start on this and finish it. I don't want to tear a termite apart and it just set having to. And so having consecutive days where I knew I could just commit to it have just not existed until this week. So today, we finally, I just got it in the air, and we're going to start pulling this transfer case out. But it's setting over 3 weeks. You can see, I don't know if you can't tell it on camera, but it is wet right along in here in the joint. And there's a little puddle here. Have not been driving it, have not even crunk it up. So it's bone dry up here up top. So it's definitely leaking out between the two. If it's one of those seals, both of those seals, I don't know. But all I know to do is get it out, and then we'll go from there. And we'll just probably going to replace both of them. And I guess what I'm saying, it don't really matter which one it is, because they're probably both going to get replaced. And I wanted to make sure that shaft is long enough to seal. I went back and I watched my video from a year and a half or so ago when I tried that, and it, you know, seemed to all be okay. Anyway, just one of those things we do, right? So, all right, well, I'm not going to bore you guys with this whole process because I'm not looking forward to doing it, and so I certainly don't want to film doing it because it's just not going to be fun. Of just unbolting everything and getting this transfer case out. So I'll check back with you when that's done. All right, guys, we are 2 bolts away from the transfer case coming out. We've, let me get back here where you can see. The brace is gone. all the bolts are undone except for the very two on top. And I just cannot, I can touch them. I mean, they're right there, but I can't get a wrench on them. Or a socket. I've tried to come all different ways. Usually you can just take the lid off right there. That's what we did when we were putting the shifter on, and they're just right there accessible. I didn't really want to go through all that again, so I was going to try to do it without having to do it, because you got to take the seat out, pull the carpet back, all that kind of stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is, Andrew's going to Hattiesburg here in a little bit. I'm going to get her to run by Harbor Freight and get me some of the little stub wrenches, little short wrenches, and we'll see if I can break them two bolts loose. But once those are broke loose, it's ready to come out. So, all right, guys. Well, we're back today. We got a set of stubby wrenches, or as Andrew likes to call them, cute little baby wrenches. But everything under here is soaking wet. Everything is dripping water, because I don't know if you can hear the thunder and the rain picking up on my mic, but it is just one of them days where the weather in the wintertime is common. Everything in the shop is soaked. Just the humidity in the air. So we're I'm not looking forward to just how nasty this is going to be. But anyway, so we got these little short guys. I'm gonna see if I can get up in there and see if we can start breaking some of these. Well, some of them, we only got two left. These two bolts loose, 14 millimeter. Let's see what we can make happen. Did replace the front seal on the transfer case. I couldn't remember if I did or not, but that seal is good. But I think I see, so you've got your rear seal here, and up in here is just open. Your input shaft slides over this. It feeds a little bit. You see a little bit of fluid. It feeds a little bit to this, but it should all remain inside this seal, keeping it all in the transmission. So obviously it's coming past this seal. So either A, the seal is just, needs replacing, which is possible, and that's going to happen either way. So the seal is bad, or what kind of concerned me from the get-go was that this shaft is 1/8 of an inch shorter than the factory transfer case one. You can see the line, the outer line here, little shiny line, and the inner line there. So it is riding on the face of the shaft. It don't have a lot of room, but you can see the line there and the line there where it is riding. And I know this shaft looks rough, but it's really smooth. It just looks kind of bad, but you can see the lines there where the seal was touching. And then if you look on here, you can see that you got those same lines there, but with about 1/8 of an inch more space in there, which would help keep the fluid a little more, because it's not under a lot of pressure, and the leak wasn't horrible. So now I don't know if it's just because of the seal or the input shaft. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to maybe call and see if I need to try to put a longer input shaft in. That's just gonna give me that, that 1/8 of an inch. That's that little bit more to put it inside, or what. I know they're the same diameter. And it may just be that seal is just bad. For me pulling that out and test fitting this transfer case a few times, it's old, not being run for a long time. That one could have just dried out, and it's just not making enough contact to really seal off. Could just be something as simple as the seal. So now I gotta do a little research to see what's going on. All right, guys, well, I've been doing some research. I guess I should have done this the first time. And I still don't know exactly what I need to do, but this is a 242 out of a 90 model. Well, the build date is 90 on the tag. So this is a 90 model 242, np242, we knew that. These input shafts, they make 3 lengths, short, medium, and long. This is a short, I need a medium, which you can get out of a np249. But I have to find a early 90s 249 to make sure that my gear cut on the inside is the same. At least that's what I've understand so far. I'm gonna have to get on the computer. I'm trying to do all this on my phone out here in the shop. So I'm gonna have to get on the computer, find out what input shaft, but they say the difference in the medium and the long shaft is about 3/32, and that's what I was figuring, about 1/8 of an inch difference between that shaft on the 243 and this one. I can't pull the shaft out of that one, I don't believe. That's a way newer transfer case. But as far as the length goes, that shaft length is the same as what the medium shaft length is on this one. And it's that little 1/8 of an inch difference that they said that if you don't do, it's not necessarily a strength issue, but it will leak because it won't have that little bit extra of a shelf in there for that seal to sit on. So I've got the seal out. So the seal was not necessarily the problem. It was just the fact that this needs just that little bit more, 3/32 of an inch more, to just kind of go inside the seal, just that little bit more. So that was what I was hoping was not the case, because that's obviously, I got to track all this down, find all this stuff, which means termites gonna be down until I find it all and it gets here. But so I don't know, guys. This has been going on for a month now, this video, from the time we started trying to find the leak to now. So I don't know. All right, guys, well, the saga continues. This has been one of the most frustrating things to try to find information on. So apparently there's like 40 different combinations of input shaft to bearing to gear cut transfer case combinations. I mean, just wild. From what I can gather, and I'm not a transfer case expert, I don't know much about all of this. I'm learning as I go, and it's hard to learn because there's just so much going on. But these shafts apparently come in 3 different sizes: short, essentially short, medium, and long. 750, 840, and 1.5. So the size I need, which would match that as far as length goes, apparently it's hard to find. I don't know. Called Novak, thought they had what I needed. He said, we don't even carry those. We don't even have them in stock. I don't know if he didn't know what I meant. I don't know, but I was trying to explain to him, and it just, I don't know. So I found another company that has a possible fit, so I got to take the transfer case apart to get this out anyway. I mean, we've got to swap it. And so I got to do that so I can measure my overall length and know what size input shaft I need. So there's no clear information out there, at least clear enough for my old dumb self, I guess. And as to what exactly I need to do. I know there's early cut gears and late cut gears. This is out of a 90, so this is going to be early cut gears. And I believe it's the wide bearing, not the narrow bearing. And So then I have to take that early cut, wide bearing, and then just try to find a shaft that is a little bit longer, not much, just a little bit longer than this one, that will impact the seal there. It's fun. I'm not gonna film me taking this thing apart. We have a video a while back of me doing that. I'm not an expert of that. I'm gonna be figuring it out to some degree as I go on some of this other stuff. And guys, I just don't really feel like filming on doing that. It's wet still, it's nasty in here in the shop. So I'm just gonna get to work on this. As you can tell, I'm not happy about it, but it's got to be done. So I'm gonna trudge through this. I will update you guys when I get there, and hopefully, maybe by the end of the day today, we can have a shaft on order. Let's hope and pray that that's possible. Chaos. Transfer case is apart, and thankfully, all right, here's the thing. So I found a company called Allstate Gear that has the input shaft. The one they have measures 4 1/4. This one, I don't have enough hands to show you guys, but putting a flat across here, measuring up, is 4 1/8. So that gives us that eighth of an inch. That is the difference between a .750 and a .840, which technically is only about 3/30 seconds, which is crazy we're doing all of this for 3/30 seconds more, but that's the difference here. So I needed to confirm that this was 4 1/8, and it is exactly 4 1/8. So that is awesome. I am super happy about that. The disassembly is pretty straightforward. So, all right, guys. Well, that's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna go order this right now, and we've already got a rear seal for the transmission on the way. So I need to get this ordered and get that on the way so we can get this thing back together. Well, our seal just came in the mail. There's your part number right there to go in this adapter right there. I don't know if our other one was bad or not, or if it was just solely the fact that shaft was a little short, but either way, I should have done this one when I was in here the first time, but we're doing it now. So this is a original Mopar unit, and I'm gonna get it tapped in. I would film me tapping it in, but I broke the last tripod that I had in the shop, y'all. So I go through tripods out here like crazy. And the other day when I was moving this table, it was sitting there and I knocked it over and it broke the clip on top that holds the phone. So can't get you a shot at the moment, which, I mean, it's just tapping a seal in. It's not that exciting, but yeah, I'm rough on stuff out here. All right, well, we just got a package in the mail. New input shaft. Let's go see how it compares to the old shaft. Drum roll. It is a little bit longer. All right, guys. Well, our gear mesh looks good. So, nice. Man, I am so pumped on that. I knew the bearing size was good. And let's say it's good. That one sure does look narrow compared to that one. Hang on. All right, well, I've been on the phone, got everything I think worked out. This is advertised wrong. This is advertised as a .940 bearing, which is what this is, but this is actually a .630 bearing. The gear was fine, the length was good, but the bearing was the narrow bearing. Well, good news, guys. Input shaft just came in. Looks like everything's good to go. So, I guess as I showed with the last one with the length, it's just a little bit longer, but you see the bearing is the wide bearing. And I dropped in the gears, all mesh good. So I'm gonna show you guys the difference that we're dealing with here, how minor it is. That right there. About 1/8 of an inch. That's the difference. Between the seal riding right on this edge and it giving it just that little bit more. It measures out to 330 seconds. That's what the spec is, and that's about what that is. All this work for 330 seconds. But if it stops the leak, it stops the leak. It is what it is. But our part is right. Wide bearing. The cut's the same. We got our extra length, 23 spline. Everything is right with the world at the moment. So the only thing, I drug my feet, forgot to get the bearing on the inside. I knew I was gonna need one, and just for some reason has not dawned on me to go out there to town and get that on the way. But it'll be here in the morning at 7 o'clock, and I can press that in and then start putting everything back together, because that's literally the first thing that's got to go back in. So check back with you guys tomorrow. Well, guys, weeks have passed. It's been, I think, a week and a half, 2 weeks since we got the input shaft in, the clip you just saw, and we had a problem with it. So the shaft itself, the length, the outer bearing, the gear cut, spline count, everything was great, perfect. But on the inside, where your inner bearing goes, they had bored this too big, and I don't know why. You can see this is the old one. This bore line width here was too big, and so I put the new bearing in with the part number that matched the one they told me I needed, everything, and I could just wiggle it. So I called, and it's hard trying to describe this over the phone to someone that, you know, the bearing don't fit, and they can't understand why. And so, long story short, I told the guy I would call him back. I went down the road. Thankfully, I have a friend who has a machine shop not far from me. And I said, man, can you make me a bushing that will make up this difference? It wasn't much. And so I left it with him, and he's doing it as a buddy favor. He's super busy, so, you know, I'm at his mercy there as far as when he does it. And so he finally dropped it off today. I pressed the bearing in. Everything seems to look good. But you can see the bushing here. This is the bushing. And that's how off it was. And so I would put this bearing in there, and I could just wiggle it. So you can see no bushing here, and you can see the bushing on the outside. So it's got a nice press fit. Everything went together good. He's a fantastic machinist. So all of that went together good. I've measured, checked everything. Everything looks good. So finally going to start reassembly on this thing. All right, RTV is cured. We actually had to take it back apart and do it again, because at some point in me putting the cases together, I checked all the gears, everything was fine. But I guess in the process of putting the other half back on, something popped out, because it wouldn't shift but into two, really not even two full gears, and it just would lock up. So we pulled the two cases apart, and I got in there and rotated a few times, and it set. And so we're good now. We got all of our gears again, and we've checked it. So anyway, we're gonna set the tripod up, and we're gonna get this thing finally stuck back in termite. All right, termite is back on the ground, warming up. Fired right up. I don't see nothing just spraying fluid out nowhere, which it shouldn't. But got everything back together. Everything went back together pretty simple, straightforward. So I'm gonna let the termite warm for a little bit, because it's been a month and a half. It's been sitting up in the air, so you can see that it's a cold day today too. So I'm just gonna let her run and warm up, and we'll take it down the road and see how she does. Well, y'all, we have been driving termite for a few days now, and everything seems to be good. I had one issue. Get out here in the leaves. Where my rear seal, after my first test drive, started leaking. And I don't know why. That was a new seal, wasn't even a year old, but it'd be just a little drop there. So I popped that out and shot a new seal in there, and all's good now. We've drove it since, and everything is dry. So up here where we were leaking, everything is staying good and dry. So I think we're good. I think we got it. So everything seems to be all right for the moment. So now we got to go get AC charged and clean up a little wiring under the hood. My next big thing for it is cruise control. So I'm kind of doing some research. Going to Arkansas, I knew I would need it and I knew I wanted it, but man, that trip up there, my leg was killing me, not being able to just move a little bit. So one day here pretty soon, that's going to be probably one of the next big things we're looking at is cruise control on it. But anyway, all's doing good. Leaks are fixed. Drama is over for the moment. Thank y'all for watching. We're going to go get termite back in DeSoto, so be looking out for that here soon, hopefully. And yeah, thank y'all for watching. See you later.